I knew that love was.
Welcome to the city of Tacoma. In the process of a decades-long urban renewal, the city is a blend of new and old. Along Pacific Avenue, the city has worked hard to create a concentration of the best things urban life can offer: museums, light rails, and a downtown of restaurants and high-rise buildings. The University of Washington Tacoma campus sits on the dividing line between a new downtown Tacoma and the old Tacoma, a place that still has plenty of barbed wire and chain-link fences. A person walking the streets could easily see that Tacoma is trying to turn a new page. But they would also see that it's still all city, whether new or old. That's why, across the street from the campus, the university is trying something new. Because behind the barbed wire and fences, there's something different. Behind the fences, there's a garden.
I didn't even feel no pain because there wasn't any rain.
Basically, this whole idea of the Giving Garden was a community outreach event. We also got in Tacoma Weekly, Tacoma News Tribune, King 5 News, etc. to advertise for this. And the idea was this was going to help restore inner city Tacoma by being in downtown. I don't know if you can hear the siren right now, but we're right in the middle of the city. And kind of help revitalize what's kind of what a lot of people don't think is the best place for a garden. And we kind of wanted to show everyone that anywhere is a great place for a garden. So we tried to make this as affordable as possible.
The Giving Garden is planted in the yard beside the Facilities Services Center of the University of Washington Tacoma. It was funded by a mini grant through the Green Partnership Fund with the mission to research best gardening practices and provide a local source for fresh produce to the needy. Newly planted oak trees and native plants attract the insects that'll benefit the garden and restore the natural beauty of the plot. The garden operates under the cooperation of its coordinators, gardening staff, and partnership with environmental sciences classes. Basilio and Michael are two students from Erica Klein's Plants and People course. They are part of a group researching successful methods for agriculture, measuring their progress along the way. They've built trellises to help the plants grow straight and tall, and they've instituted a drip watering method using recycled water bottles.
I have a garden at home, and I do it there as well. But it's just another way to try new things, try different methods to see how it grows. I've never done peas before, so that was pretty interesting to see how fast they grew and how big they grew.
Yeah. Well, at week 1, we just had these little stems right here. And then
They started out like this high maybe.
Yeah.
About 5 weeks, they've grown to about here. That one's grown the most. Starting from probably the bottom tier.
it's actually started wrapping around.
And if you look over here, you can see it wrapping really tight.
Well, I like most is we could just see these plants grow bigger and bigger every time we come up here. It's actually fun watching them grow. So from a little tiny plant to something big like those ones.
The seeds for the produce begin their lives back on the University of Washington Tacoma campus, on the roof of the science building. In the greenhouse on top of the roof, under the spring and summer sun, the plants receive their first nudgings towards new life.
So this is the UW Tacoma greenhouse. It's on top of the science building, and this is where we start the plants over the winter to be transplanted in the early spring. So here we have some of our tomato plants that are yet to be transplanted.
And over here we have some banana peppers that have been growing inside the greenhouse to stay out of the frost and whatnot before we put them in the garden up the street.
Every member of the environmental science faculty helps out by throwing their organic waste into a bin lined with compostable corn bags. Once a week, Bridget and Kaomi collect the bags and carry them up the hill to the garden.
And when I fell into the tomatoes, I seen her.
So this up the hill we go up every Wednesday to drop off the compost, and then also quite often, maybe every other day, to actually water and weed and pick the plants. So I'm getting in shape walking up the hill.
about 2 blocks up and 2 blocks over. So it's a little bit of work to get composting off the ground at UW Tacoma, but totally worth it.
Ever since that lucky day, I got a roast between my toes from walking barefoot through the hut house to you.
The bags end their journey to the top of the hill when they're thrown and tumbled inside a pair of heavy-duty composters, one of the garden's most expensive and worthwhile investments.
After adding the compost, then we turn it. And of course, the more that you turn it, the better and faster that your compost actually starts to happen and starts to break down. So we try to do this every time we're up here, and it's kind of fun. It's a group effort sometimes, especially when it starts to get really full. These can start to get pretty heavy, but usually one or both of us can manage. So when we left this to cure, it was filled up to about this point here. And since then, it's already back down here. So you can see just the amount of waste that we're keeping out of a landfill because it's able to break down in our compost instead.
Once they're done composting, Bridget and Kaomi set to work weeding and watering.
So you think the new ones look more like this?
Outside of I'm on a work-study here, so I work 19 hours a week. Outside of my 19 hours a week, I work significantly more hours up here in the garden.
It's a fun job, just coming up here and watering the plants. Pretty mellow. So it's kind of a rolling harvest. Everything kind of comes available at different times. The lettuces for sure will be ready to harvest soon. As you can see, the spinach, if you can picture like a head of spinach that you buy in a grocery store, it's already starting to look like that. So if we just give it a couple more weeks, we can start to harvest the spinach. And as soon as we harvest it, we'll replace it with more spinach. So we'll keep growing spinach all summer long. And then we've got snow peas that have actually been in our garden the longest. So hopefully they become ready soon. We planted the snow peas way back in February, so they've survived a very harsh winter and even spring. And so they're looking really good though, and I hope that it just built their character a little bit.
Once the produce is harvested, it will end up here at the Good Neighbor Cafe of the Tacoma Rescue Mission. The cafe provides a free breakfast and dinner to homeless and low-income families so that they can fulfill their mission of preventing any Tacoman in need from going hungry.
All right, here we seat up to 100 people in our whole dining room facility here. We about 100 people at a time, and then they funnel out to our courtyard outside there once they get their meal.
Frank said that without the donations of a program like the Garden, the Good Neighbor Cafe would have a great deal of difficulty fulfilling its mission. But if the cafe couldn't exist without programs like the Garden couldn't exist without the help of volunteers. The Garden has held several large volunteer gatherings, like the one shown here on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Volunteers bring their children, put on gloves, and dig in to make the Garden come together. These people are the proof that, as Kaomi said, any place is a good place for a garden, even in the middle of the city.
I didn't even feel no pain because there wasn't any rain in the sky. Pretty baby, I didn't need no iodine because the sun began to shine upon me. For now my feet feel glad and gay. Ever since that lucky day, I got a roast between my toes from walking barefoot through the hut house to you.